In this early version of the story, Lady has two neighbor dogs named Homer and Boris, who are rivals for her affections. The scene begins with Boris moving into the neighborhood. Homer is chewing on a bone when he hears someone say, "This way, gentlemen." We hear sounds of snoring coming from inside this elaborate doghouse. Homer says,
"Hiya, bud. Moving in?"
Boris looks around like he's just realized that he moved. He says, "Everything happens to me."
That sure is a screwy-looking crate you came in.
Crate, sacre bleu.
This crate, she is my home.
He looks at Homer's doghouse.
A typical peasant hovel.
Homer says,
"Yeah,
he scratches himself.
a peasant man with fleas." You are dismissed. Phooey. Gosh, well, every dog to his taste, I guess. Too bad, though.
As Boris walks away, he hears Lady say,
"Hello, Homer?"
He turns around and sees her. He's instantly smitten. Lady calls for Homer in a sing-song voice.
Homer!
Boris runs up to Homer.
Homer, my good, my wonderful friend. How good to see you again.
How are you, comrade? He smiles, flashing a gold tooth. Boris says to Lady,
10,000 pardons, madame. Homer, comrade, introduce me to this breath of spring. Lady, this is, Boris Ivan Petrovich Rostova Misha.
Grigorovich Alexandrovich Vasily Petrov Nikolai, at your service.
Also, I might add, decorated by the Tsar.
His medallion says, I eat Dodo dog biscuits.
I'm very pleased to meet you, Boris.
And well, you might be, Popuchkin.
Homer says, Boris leans into Lady.
Teach this bumpkin friend of yours, Makushla. Boris has many things to tell you. Don't feel bad, lady. After all, life is just a bowl of borscht. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold, but always sour.
We hear the sound of a motor. Boris says,
What's that?
A special bike wheels up. It says, Doggy Dinners Deluxe. Let us serve your dog. You forget him, we feed him. We cut to later on. Lady and Boris are eating out by the pool.
Oh, but this is wonderful, Boris. I never ate at a table before. Do you always?
The caterer understands. One of my princely bearing doesn't grovel in the dirt at his food. But my mouth eat waters for Russia, for steaming samovars, that vodka of the czars. These cannot compare to caviar.
Homer can hear Boris.
Caviar? Ugh.
Boris continues.
Of course, I eat very little. Figure, you know. One cannot be too careful.
Lady gulps and pushes her plate away. Boris reminisces.
Ah, those years. Monte Carlo, St. Moritz, Baden-Baden. But one tires of such a gay life. Of being a butterfly, flitting about. From Paris to New York to Hollywood.
Lady is excited.
Hollywood? Do you know Hollywood?
Little orchid, I symbolize Hollywood. Look, profile. What makes it you think of? Barrymore? Nah. Boris? Yes. You've heard of Rin Tin Tin? Screen name, you know.
He picks food out of his gold tooth.
Ah, have I not told you, little sunbeam? I think you have the spark. The spark with which I, Boris, can make a great actress.
Homer grumbles.
Hollywood, Perry, Samovar. Huh.
A pair of birds fly down to visit him. One of the birds says,
Hey, you're leaving more than usual, Homer, okay? What's the matter? Off your feed?
The second bird says,
Yeah, it's that fur-covered skeleton next door, ain't it? Listen, kid, you rest easy. We'll go keep an eye on that Russian windbag for you.
Cut back to Lady, still listening to Boris talk about himself.
And then as the 17 wolves advanced, what am I saying? Then, as the 45 wolves advanced, I whipped out my teeth. I bared my teeth and paralyzed each one with fright.
The birds are listening in.
Boy, will you listen to him? Say, I could use a line like that.
Boris continues.
Then I carried the serum on through to Nome on my one remaining leg.
Lady gulps.
What am I saying, one leg? I had to slide the last 50 miles. Needless to say, I was decorated by the King of Alaska.
Oh, Boris, you're wonderful.
Yes, isn't it so? I am wonderful. Extremely so. That's what I keep telling them. But let us talk about you, little prairie flower, for a little while. Of your eyes, like the blue, brown Danube. Of your smile, like first quarter of moon.
The birds can't believe what they're hearing.
Listen to him, will ya? You know, that's what I like about Homer. He don't know any big words. Uh-oh, now he's talking about the moon.
The birds start making fun of him.
Ah, my little kerosene lamp. You are the light of my light. Don't that get you?
Meanwhile, Boris continues.
The moon that brings out the Latin Russian in me.
Oh, I bet you say that to all the dogs, Boris.
Ah, but to say it to you. In fact, I am moved to song.
The
birds can't believe this.
A crooner? A crooner? Hey, that's too much. We gotta tell Homer.
They go whisper in his ear. Homer gets an idea and runs off, saying,
I'll call the fellas.
I would follow you to the stars.
His back gives out.
Oh, my lumbago.
Homer peeks through a crack in the fence.
Hey, psst.
Some other neighborhood dogs come out. One says,
What's cooking, Homer?
Come on, fellas. Emergency.
Meanwhile, Boris is singing a mushy Russian song. Suddenly, we hear ragtime harmonizing off stage. Lady turns, scowling. Homer and his friends are interrupting Boris with yodeling. Other dogs in the neighborhood join in. Now the birds are dancing and chiming in on the ruckus. Boris tries to sing louder and louder and gets whapped by a shoe someone has thrown to shut him up, and then by a clock. which knocks him into the pool. We hear Boris's owner yell,
Quiet, boys!
Lady dives for cover. Boris groans below.
Blim dog, always howling. Why does everything happen to me?
Somehow you've changed, Boris.
Boris moans.
Is this the Boris friend of kings? Oh.
The neighborhood dogs finish their song with wordless harmonizing. Homer smiles. They wink at each other. Fade out.